Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Dream Drop Long Distance, a podcast about two friends. Oh, man. Ending another small chapter in the journey that is our playthrough of the Kingdom Hearts franchise in order to try to get back just a little bit of that magic we had as kids playing this game. As always, my name is Mitchell Orsino, and with me is my co-host, the amazing Mr. Kyle Bradshaw. How are you, Kyle?
Hello, I am fantastic, and honestly, I'm ready to jump back in, because as listeners of the series will recall, we are doing this as a doubleheader. So we are jumping right back into the story of Sora, Donald, and Goofy running down the hallways of Castle Oblivion, chasing after Marluxia.
So excited. So excited to keep going with this, because I think this might be one of the most interesting in terms of twists and turns and everything else. Anyway, let's get going. I could kind of get it.
There's to get people excited, though, to get the listeners excited, I will say that there is a very big twist happening at the end of this episode. Some of you may have already figured it out, but we will get there when we get there. So
yes.
Yeah. Last we left off, we had just picked up the Trinity Limit slight, which is Sora, Donald, and Goofy shooting out magic lasers all over the place and wiping the floor with a Heartless.
Like a goth, emo nuclear bomb. It's just a lot of Sora basically does this light just dance, and all these runes appear, and all of a sudden the screen goes white, and all of the Heartless are gone.
For the most part, though, because on this particular level, we are reintroduced to the Neo Shadows, which actually, for American players of the game, this is the first time that you have seen this Heartless, because until, I should say American players at the time that this game was released, this is the first time you're seeing it, because Neo Shadows were originally introduced in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, but that game didn't release in the United States.
Yeah.
So either you run into Neo Shadows for the very first time here, or you see them in the next game. But we'll talk about that one day.
Those real quick, just to segue, these are some tough little bastards.
Yes, they are.
Especially when they squat up on you, which they do regularly.
Absolutely. It almost makes the case for Trinity Limit existing. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I really do need to just nuke everything all at once right now.
Yeah.
And I would even start strategizing around that, like, oh, okay, I recognize this mob of Heartless. This mob of Heartless, once I kill these guys, Neo Shadows show up, and I'm going to save my Trinity Limit for this.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a caveat, which should come from the name Neo Shadows, which is that just like the original Shadows that we were first introduced to all the way back on the Destiny Islands, actually all the way in the Dive to the Heart, we were introduced to Shadows. These are Neo Shadows. They also go into the ground. And when you're in the ground, you're invincible.
Yep.
So these guys, anybody who is in the ground when Trinity Limit is activated does not get defeated. So
yeah, and they're pretty good at not getting hit, but it wipes out the majority.
And I can accept that. So fighting through these waves of Heartless, the game starts to really eat at me a little bit here, because it's just like, okay, time to go through another room. Okay, time to go through another room. It started to feel a little old. How about you?
Yeah, for one, there's a lot of rooms in this level, and they're not very original. The only big challenge that I found this, because I kind of speed ran through the rooms, was the card values that you needed to unlock some of these rooms got heavy.
It's not good. They really want you to just jump all of your cards, which is fine, because earlier we had been complaining about having 99 and having to erase them from time to time. But boy, I hope you hadn't been erasing them anytime too recently, and that you're still grinding away at Heartless to keep cards.
I never did erase them. If I didn't pick them up, I didn't pick them up. But there was, I think, because you laughed at me, because at one moment it was like, I said, wait, I need to give them 50 points worth of cards. I was like, what the hell is this? And you were like, yeah, that's a lot. And then about an hour later, I messaged you. I said, this isn't real. And I sent you a picture that it was 99 points worth of cards. Kyle, when I say I was scrounging from every avenue that I could to get the cards that I needed, and somehow I did.
See, I think it's a difference in our strategies because I was actually going through and dumping cards from time to time. Basically, what I do is I just remove every card that was from 1 to 4, or maybe 1 to 5. So that means I'd keep all my zeros because if I needed something that was like a card less than 3, 0, done. And then otherwise I had all these high numbered cards that I could throw in wherever. Like, okay, cool. I can open this door anytime I want.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't do that at all. I made it way more difficult to myself. And it was so sketchy.
So yeah, this whole world is very linear in a way. Like you can veer off a little bit and go open up one of the key to rewards doors, which is something we hadn't really talked too much about recently.
Really haven't.
There's some good stuff behind them. I opened one a while back, which has probably been helping me a lot. I opened one that gave me metal chocobo, that keyblade.
Ooh.
I opened that like very early on to make sure that I was like, oh, okay, cool. I have a strong keyblade. I'm happy now. And I kept like getting more of them from the Moogles, which had been helping my runs.
Where did you get that one?
I think I used a key to rewards, which I unlocked, I don't remember, maybe sometime 2 episodes ago, right?
Oh, okay.
Whenever those first started dropping, I took one of those, backtracked to Olympus Coliseum, and opened that. Because I used a guide. I was like, where am I going to use these keys? What do I want from these keys? And I looked through and I read, I was like, oh, that's a keyblade. I want that.
That's funny. Yeah, I didn't even... once you said it, I was like, I bet he got that at Olympus Coliseum. I never did go back. I think the only one I backtracked to was Agrabah. I did the Agrabah one. I don't even quite remember what I got from the Agrabah one.
Oh. So anyway, back to Castle Oblivion. It's a very linear level, ignoring that key to rewards pathway. You just keep following one pathway along and you turn some corners around. And there's a cutscene partway through where you see Naminé watching over the Riku replica, who is still unconscious at this point. And you see that someone from the organization has shown up at this scene, but they don't reveal who it is. But there aren't that many players left, right?
No.
Like, out of the faces that we've been introduced to, Larxene is dead. Axel's helping Naminé. Vexen's dead. I can only guess that this is probably Marluxia.
That seems like it would be the right guess. Because as of right now, we don't know who else there is.
That's true. Yeah. Or is there anybody else? We don't know how many people are in this organization. We don't know anything.
No idea.
And then you keep fighting your way through a little bit longer, and another scene happens. And these scenes keep happening almost at random, it kind of feels like, rather than happening at these specific moments. Like you use your key to beginnings and key to guidance or something. I don't know what they're called. I've played this game for hours and I don't remember the card names. So, but yeah, instead of that, here it's just these mid-level scenes that just kind of get thrown in at random. So another one happens, and you see Marluxia calling Axel treasonous. And then Axel turns that accusation around on him, right?
Yeah.
It starts to unfold that Marluxia and Larxene were trying to manipulate Naminé into making Sora their puppet, and use Naminé and Sora's power to take over the organization from within. So it starts to reveal even more of that plan that we were starting to get a little bit of not too long ago.
Yeah, it seems like Marluxia, his plan was to use Naminé to turn Sora into a puppet to be able to control not only the Keyblade, the power of the Keyblade, but the Keyblade wielder. And he actually winds up calling Axel a traitor, and Axel, in one of a very clever way, tells him, he's like, I haven't done anything. Technically, he said, you're the one that told me to kill these guys, and you're the one that's been doing all of this stuff behind the organization's back. So technically, you're the traitor. And you told me that traitors have to be exterminated.
Yeah, the exact line is, you must eliminate the traitor. I always follow orders, Marluxia.
And which, so metal.
Love this man so much. He's so cool. God.
Definitely top 3 in the game, if not top 2. But then you think they're about to get into a fight, and he winds up pulling in Naminé in front of him. And Axel tells him, he's like, is Namine your idea of a shield?
Yeah, it's kind of weird how this takes place, too, because it's not even, like, immediate like that.
Mm-mm.
It just kind of happens midway through. Like, we watch the end of the scene, like, the fight begins, and then it cuts back to Sora just kind of derping around, and Sora has to keep fighting his way, and then you get to see the rest of the scene unfold, which is awesome to watch, because Axel and Marluxia going at it is great. I wrote down hot boy fight, which is exactly what it was.
It is a hot boy fight. And I'm sorry, I did forget about that part. So backtracking on that, you do catch a glimpse of Axel fighting Marluxia. And then Marluxia kind of summons these rose petals, and you see Axel look, and all of a sudden in front of Marluxia is Namine. And Axel kind of just laughs. He's like, oh, is she your idea of a shield? But then Marluxia calls out to Sora. And it's just like, Sora, are you going to let Axel hurt Namine, even though you promised to protect her? And you can tell Axel's like, oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's real clever, too, because Axel still clearly has a strong allegiance to the organization. So he decides that he's not going to dishonor the organization or betray the organization by not fighting Sora. So he follows through on his duty.
He does.
And it goes right into a fight, which was a fun one, but it was still ridiculously easy because, again, we broke the game. Sonic Blade is just too powerful, and nearly every boss in the game goes down, just bows down to the raw fury of Sonic Blade.
They do. They do. It breaks the combos, stuns them briefly, and then you just wail on them. But overall, I think, his firewall ability is awesome. Just like the acrobatics of his movements and his fighting ability, so beautiful. Like really, really well animated and well put together. I thought the mechanics of Axel are, I wouldn't say they're my favorite of the organization that we've seen so far, but probably number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a strong placement.
Yeah.
Especially after seeing just the little bit that we have seen of Marluxia. Like, he's definitely got something for us, too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But what happens after we beat him?
Well, for one, Axel goes down and claims in the process that he saved us. And I'm not 100% sure what that means, other than maybe the fact that he let Namine go. I guess that's what he means.
That's what I was guessing. The exact line, Axel looked at Sora as he was fading off and says, I guess it was worth saving you after all. And he disappears.
I'll note that he disappears, but not in the same way that the other ones do. He definitely stepped into a portal. Mm-hmm. The same way that like Riku did and Maleficent did, I'm pretty sure, and Ansem. He definitely just stepped into a portal. We didn't kill him or destroy him.
Yeah, he didn't like vaporize. So you're like, okay, he's probably coming back. And Marluxia tells Namine, like demands and says, Namine, erase Sora's memories and destroy his heart. Which you're like, oh, hold on. And you're kind of like, is she going to do it?
Can she even do that? Like, that's wild. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I guess if she can just rewrite memories, erasing them shouldn't be too hard. But it's weird that erasing his memories is destroying his heart.
Yeah, but then this weird thing happens where she's like, I won't do it. And Marluxia kind of gives her an ultimatum of either do it or I don't need you anymore. And at which point Sora, the little simp that he is, then goes, just do it. Because to him, he's like, part of my promise was to protect you. And if me losing my memories and having my heart destroyed means that you'll be safe, then I'm keeping my promise. And it's just like, Sora, my God, I can feel Donald in the background just going like, oh, you're trying too hard.
Yeah, like, he was already told that this was not a real promise, that those memories are fake, but he's still choosing to just follow through on it anyway. I don't know. He's okay with the idea of becoming an empty shell, no longer able to feel or care, just like the Riku replica that we left behind, who then shows up out of nowhere
in grandiose fashion.
And then continues on the lie of protecting Namine. I don't understand. Who is this man? Why is he I love him. I love him. But who is this man?
But it also just shows you like how powerful her ability must be, that they are still willing to give their lives to protect this person, even though she has blatantly said, this is a lie. This is something I put in your head.
And they believe it. They understand that, okay, yeah, that's fake. I get it. And they still follow through with it anyway, which I originally attributed that to being like, oh, cool. That's the part of Sora's heart that is the reason why the Keyblade chose him to be the wielder. But I don't know anymore. It's starting to be a little much, especially with Riku doing the same thing. You might be right. It could just be her powers are that much stronger than we believe.
I don't know. But anyway, we wind up getting into a fight with Marluxia. And I thought it was an interesting fight. I thought it was kind of fun. I really enjoyed watching. Yeah, like I said, again, pretty easy now that we know the system and we have a good way of kind of beating it. But overall, it was like, again, I think his character has the best fighting style currently out of any of these people that we've fought so far. And to anybody, I don't know how much we've talked about this. Marluxia is a scythe wielder, very fluid movements, a lot of long sweeping attacks, so you can't really get super close to him very easily, and just all about kind of the beauty of it. Like, I mean, he's a pretty boy with long, flowing pinkish red hair. Most of his attacks have to do with like rose petals in the air, and yeah, it's a very pretty fighting style to see, and I think it's easily the most impressive out of the people that we've currently fought. Out of these like black-robed beings that we don't know who exactly they are yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think in some ways that this fight was a lot cooler and more interesting on the Game Boy because of the ways that they played with the rose petals on the screen, because you had so much less to work with. But it was still really impressive here on the, PlayStation 2 remastered to the PlayStation 3, remastered to the PlayStation 4. Oh boy. Playing on a PlayStation 5. Oh God, we're really, we're living in the past here, gentlemen.
Haley Joel Osment is just making that royalty money though.
I hope so. I really do.
I hope he is, man. I hope he's doing well.
Man. God, could you imagine if we had him on as a guest today? It wouldn't make any sense at all.
I just thought about that. How fun would that be?
He'd be like, you guys are nerds. Leave me alone.
Probably.
So anyway, there's that. There was that thought. But so we go through this incredibly beautiful fight with Marluxia. Once again, he gets pounded away by the power and raw fury of Sonic Blade and stands no chance. And Marluxia goes down, only to have it be revealed that was an illusion of Marluxia, and that somehow Marluxia is a much, much stronger fighter than we anticipated, which is kind of weird to me, because, like, Vexen is really strong, right? And we know Axel is really strong, and Larxene, she's all right.
She's strongish.
Marluxia, as we're about to have unfold, Marluxia is obscenely strong, obscenely powerful, has powers that I don't really understand or comprehend. I don't understand who or what Marluxia is and how any of this worked, other than maybe it's just, hey, it's the end of a Kingdom Hearts game and we're still kind of closely tied to Final Fantasy, so just have fun.
The way I described this is, I think I text you and I said, what if I'm going to pull it up because I thought it was hilarious. I was texting you and I was like, hey, I'm about to fight Marluxia. And you were like, awesome. And I sent you, okay, so I just beat Marluxia for the first time and I got his card. Oh, he's an illusion. And you said, right. And I said, yo, what the hell? Why is Marluxia a Gundam?
It's a Gundam.
I mean, it's like all of a sudden you walk in and you're thinking like, oh, I'm about to fight this guy with a scythe again, but he might be stronger. No, he is from the waist up, the Marluxia we know. From the waist down, this flying, robotic looking, heartless monstrosity that has scythes for arms And it throws you for such a loop. They go so far into the JRPG Final Fantasy realm with him all of a sudden, and it just feels so out of place. And I know you probably felt the exact same way. Also, because the deck that we've been running up to this point really only works well when your enemy is on the ground. And unfortunately, this fight, he is in the air the entire time.
Yeah, and he's not even necessarily in range of combat for the entirety of the fight either.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, like, attack his scythes to try and bring his attacks down because he's really strong if you leave those up, I imagine. I don't know. I took him out too quickly I didn't want to take a chance with that. So I sliced down his scythes, and then you can start attacking him, and he shifts strategies halfway through, just like any good boss fight should. And he starts to, like, fly off screen, right? He flies off of the arena and kind of, like, hangs out on the outskirts. And so what you have to do is, like, wait for him to come and attack you, but you have to be far enough away that he doesn't attack you right away. And you have to use a card, whether it's a slight or just a 0 or something. You have to break his attack to be able to then continue attacking him, because otherwise he just slides from one side of the map from the other or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you have no window to attack him. So you have to break that card to be able to get any blows in on him.
Yeah.
Which is, once again, just like making sure that you understand how this game works before they let you out of it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild what they throw at you all of a sudden. But then this is actually a 3-part fight, like 3 separate forms of him.
Yeah, is it 3? Oh, I guess if you count the scythe form, right?
Yeah, I guess because there is a technically his first form is his base form. The flying form is technically his second form, which I'm finding out. His third form, his base body is on the ground, but coming out of his back is basically the Angel of Death.
Yeah.
Wielding a scythe with these long, like, crowish looking black wings.
Yeah, and you're not even in Castle Oblivion anymore. I don't think you are. I don't know anymore. Nothing makes sense at this point. We are completely in Final Fantasy territory because there are no walls around you anymore. You are just in a big open expanse in space, practically, and it's very, very cathedral-like in its design. This looks almost like something out of Elden Ring. I don't know. It is wild looking.
It is. Basically, it's just one big platform with this gale of wind flowing around you. And all of a sudden, you realize that not only do you not know where you're at, but one of the mechanics in this game that I personally, I don't know about you, I know you maybe not as much, that I used to rely on was being able to see, as I was fighting, how he was flipping through his deck and what was going to be coming next. That no longer is available to you. You have no prior knowledge, even a split second, of what he is about to do.
Not at all. Yeah. I mean, his slights are instant. He doesn't rack them up one at a time. Bop, bop, bop. No, he just dumps them on you, and he can dump them quick too. I noticed because now that he's on the ground, we can actually hit him the normal way, which is to say the cheese way, using our Sonic Blade. And with Sonic Blade, I was noticing that he was trying repeatedly to break my combo, or to break the slight, and he was failing, which was interesting to me because that means that while he is indeed using slights, they're not strong ones, but that's still like, oh, okay, wow, he's still going that fast, which means, one, he's not being knocked prone or anything like that. He's not being countered, and he's able to rack up slights that quickly that we would not stand a chance if we weren't cheesing him, I don't think.
Well, so I noticed during the fight, so I don't know about you, whenever I built this deck that we've made that was able to, like, you know, get us through these fights relatively easily, I made sure every slight that I had was the highest you could have. You could have it anywhere between a value of 20 and 23 for all 3 cards. All of mine are 23 because I wanted to make sure I got the most out of them I physically could. And during the fight, I was able to total up a couple that I saw very rapidly. And then I noticed, I went online after all this just to look and be, so he has in this fight 5 different sleights that he uses. He has a Gale of Severance, which creates a massive whirlwind that just kind of blows you away from him. Whirlwind to Void. A lot of his stuff is like making whirlwinds that either attack you, blow you away, or pull you in so that he can hit you with his scythe. The one you really have to watch out for is Doom. Doom is a very well-known ability that Marluxia will start a countdown. Basically, it leaves you 6 seconds to break 6 cards. So it's like he'll have 6 cards in a row that are a certain value, and you have to break each one of them. Bam, 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 bam. And if you do not, it is an instant death.
I didn't fail to this, and he only hit me with it once, but I freaked the hell out when it did. I was like, oh God, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go. Did you have any, did he get you with it once?
No, he did. He broke one of my combos, and it happened. And I luckily, like I said, all of my cards were like the highest value you could get to stay to a 23. So it was pretty easy to like bam, 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 bam. Then I just reloaded the deck. But then I looked online. Gale of Severance is his highest level sleight. And all of these are like 3 cards numbered 8, 3 cards numbered 7, 3 cards numbered 6, 5, 4. So the highest sleight value that he had was a 21 at any given time. So if our sleights were capped at 23 and you kept 23 on all of them, you could always break his sleight. And I didn't realize that during my fight until I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's why I was able to break his combos so easily.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think the attack that scared me the most, though, in this fight, even more than Doom, was, I don't know what it's called or which one it is. You were looking at the list, but he spits out all of your cards. Like he hits you and all of your cards just go flying everywhere like Sonic losing his rings. And they're just scattered around the battlefield. And that can be comboed with the whirlwind that pushes you away. So now not only are you separated from your cards, like not only have your cards been taken out of you, you are being pushed away from them. You have to run through the battlefield and go pick them all up again.
Yep. So that ability is called Whirlwind to the Void, where he summons a small homing whirlwind to attack you, causing you to drop all your cards upon impact. Yeah, he's got some pretty cheesing cards. I'm not gonna lie. He's got some stuff in here that's just like, man, yeah, it's pretty wild what the abilities he has. Because all of them have some kind of AoE. All of them have some kind of ability that hinders your ability to fight back for a pretty significant period of time. If not kill you instantly. Just wild. But a beautiful fight.
Yeah. It was really incredible to watch. And just, especially since you're not doing a whole lot when you're doing Sonic Blades. You can look around a little bit and be like, wow, this is really cool. How did they do all of this? How did they interpret this from what they were doing on the Game Boy? I mean, I'm really impressed. But all the same, because of Sonic Blade, we take him down. He goes down. I took him down in 1. Did you take him down in 1?
I took him down in 1. I did. And it was, I don't know. What did you think?
I am so confused, but it definitely had final boss energy. The ways that it could scare you, but it's not too big of a deal because it's still a Disney game. But it's like, oh, hey, man, the game doesn't work the way you thought it did anymore. And it's like, oh, God, okay, well, hang on. I have to counter. Or, oh, my God, my cards are all over the place. In both scenarios, it's like, wow, they really took the game to its absolute limits, or the game's concept to its limits.
Yeah, I agree. You had to bring everything that you have learned, and even some things you didn't know you learned until the panic set in, and you had to figure out something on the fly to beat this guy. And I mean, kudos. I'll give it to him. This is an awesome final boss.
Yeah, I would say worth the effort of having to learn the system.
I definitely agree. I felt like he was a much more worth it boss, no offense, to Kingdom Hearts 1 than the Kingdom Hearts 1 final boss was.
Yeah, that fight was, I don't want to talk about that fight anymore. So boring. Yeah. But he goes down, Sora shoots a cold stare into the distance and then just walks away. Mm-hmm. And Donald and Goofy shut the door, and then Sora seals it with the Keyblade. And there no longer is a door. Sora, Where's the door?
Well, also, that was the first time. I want to also point out that, like, before Marluxia disappeared, he starts to reach out. Like, you can tell he's just, like, almost not giving up yet. And then fades away, which I was like, at first, I was like, oh shit, is he dead yet? Is he about to go? And then he disappeared, which I was like, oh, okay, we beat him. Thank God. Because I was like, if they give us another fight, I swear, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, no, I would not have been ready. It was especially after how intense that third phase or whatever was. Oh my God. I wouldn't have been ready.
No, not at all. But I like you said, it's, Sora and Donald shut the door. And for the first time in this entire game, Sora actually uses the Keyblade to shut the door completely, which I was like, oh, wow, he did his thing.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because that's what you've been doing for all the keyholes, too. You've been locking them shut and sealing them. So I guess this kind of makes sense.
Yeah. But then what happens after that?
So you are met with the Riku replica and Naminé, and the replica decides that he's just going to move on with his life because he is an entity at this point. And Sora's like, hey, man, you're a puppet, but it's cool. You're your own person. So be it,
So silly.
But it's weird because it's like, where has this guy been? I feel like this is a more important character than we're giving him credit for.
Yeah. That
we've like seen or interacted with this character somewhere along the way and forgotten about it in a future game.
It feels like it. It definitely does. Replica Riku is kind of like, yeah, I'll deal with it. And he just walks away.
Yeah. And at that point, Naminé offers to repair Sora, Donald, and Goofy's memories and set them back the way they were before they went to the castle.
She does, but it was it's a sadder moment where she tells them, like, I can fix all of this, but you'll forget about me and you'll forget about your time here in Castle Oblivion. And she gives Sora's like, well, so I can't keep both? And she's like, no, you have to choose. And he thinks about it for a second. He's like, I want you to put me back how I was. And Naminé, you can hear it in her voice, and she turns around and she's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess, why wouldn't you want to go back to the way you were, where you had all your friends and everything? And it was like, oh man, that is so sad, because she had this last little glint of hope that he might actually want to stay that way.
But no, he decides to return to his original self, and it kind of breaks her a little bit, but she understands. She's been lonely for so long, but thankfully, they kind of make a promise to her, though, that they, even though they'll forget her, they'll go back to her one day, or whenever they return from them. When their memories are returned, Sora will still remember his promise to her.
Yeah, and try to think he had even one point been like, even if I forget you now, you won't be lost. Like, I'll find you.
Yeah, they kind of play on how the whole like, oh, it's the chain of memories. I have to undo the chain of memories. But it's like, and Sora's like, well, just because the chain's been undone, the other links are still there, right? She's like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And the narrator says, that was never true. No. But anyway, yeah, Jiminy writes down thank Naminé in big letters in his journal, which begs the question to me, why didn't he just write down everything that happened in the castle? If he can write down thank Naminé, why didn't he write down everything, which he has been, because we have Jiminy's journal for this castle?
I guess he probably, I think it said everything up to the castle had been erased. So anything he wrote in the castle probably stayed.
Right. So why does he need to just write thank Naminé when, in theory, the entire story of what happened in Castle Oblivion will be written down in Jiminy's journal in Jiminy's handwriting?
I'm not trying to overthink a cricket with a top hat writing things.
Okay, suspension of disbelief. All right.
Yeah, I'll just let it go. I'm gonna roll with it. But so Sora gets into this giant sci-fi sleep pod that Naminé tells him, like, you have to sleep in this until I can fix you. And he starts to remember all of his friends, all of his Final Fantasy based friends. and because it's pretty much the only people they show, not including, and then you see Riku, and then you see Kairi.
Yeah, the way they explain it is that Sora's memories are kind of shrouded in darkness right now, but there's that one light that shines inside of him, and once he can find that light, that light will shine on all of the rest of the memories, and it'll come flooding back to him.
Yeah, and it seems like Kairi is that light. So, yeah, and then the credits roll.
They sure do. We things come to a close here. And during the credits, we start to see a couple different little scenes play out. The one that stood out to me, the first one that stood out to me was Kairi standing on the beach of Destiny Island, kind of like having a moment. I don't know how to describe it, but she just kind of like clutches at her chest or something, or like grabs a pendant and kind of like looks pensive for a second. That one stood out to me for a moment.
Yeah, you can tell she's feeling something.
Yeah, Kairi could tell that Sora's remembering her right now, or that Sora's thinking of her in a very powerful way.
You could just tell, like, she was feeling him in the distance. Like, also, all of the little snippet bits that they show, I'll bring up real quick. Like, you know, Phil and Hercules talking, and then Cloud walks in, and then Hercules looks at him and flexes at him. And, like, I can take you, and Cloud just kind of turns and does a little hair flip, and Hercules is like, hey! Like, there's some very cute moments.
I missed most of those because I was like, oh, okay, well, hang on, let me see what I like looked away for half of that because I was like, oh, it's just replays. I didn't know there was a lot of original content in those.
Oh, there was a lot. I know there was one. It was Leon was standing there, and a Moogle walks across the room, and Pluto tries to jump on it, and the Moogle winds up getting out of the way and then jumping on Pluto's head when he falls over. And Leon's just like, oh my god, you freaking goofballs. There's a lot of really wholesome content in those end credit scenes.
Aw, that's cute.
But the more important stuff, the one that happens after Kairi on the beach, is Replica Riku walking down a hallway. And who shows up to meet him?
Of all people, Axel shows up and puts his hand out for the Riku replica to join him.
Yeah.
And then it cuts. We don't learn a darn thing about that.
Nope, they left that on a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah. The next one, we're back in Twilight Town, and you see three kids go walking by, and you're kind of like looking at everything from the perspective of the back of a blonde kid's head as he's walking through Twilight Town.
But as the kids walk by, he goes to turn to camera, and before his face is revealed, it cuts.
Who is this? We don't know any characters that are in Twilight Town. You know, like, I'm trying to think about it from that perspective of I've never played Kingdom Hearts before, and I'm just coming in for Chain of Memories. Who is that? You know, that's such a weird scene that I don't think that people would have latched onto in that moment the way that they maybe should have. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know if we hadn't been playing Kingdom Hearts, I would have just been like, oh, I guess that's somebody they want us to pay attention to. But that is somebody you should be paying attention to.
Yeah. And then after that, there's the credits finish. And there's one final scene that they show us. So it shows what appears to be a circular room with chairs or perhaps thrones of varying heights. And those who count the scene carefully will notice that there are 13 of these thrones. And in each of them, or perhaps most of them, there is a hooded figure sat at them. And it finally goes all the way to the tippy top of the room, to the tallest throne, and focuses in on the hooded figure. And we do not get to see their face, but it just kind of leaves this energy or something to an ominous feeling of who is that guy? Who is the leader of this organization?
Ooh, spooky, spooky, spooky. Oh.
So, with that, the credits have rolled. we're at the post scene, which I forgot to take a screenshot of to compare stats, but that's okay. It's not relevant and super relevant in this game.
I didn't even, I thought about it too, and I completely spaced on it.
Yeah. So, in this moment, I gave Mitchell very, very special instructions. I told him that when you get the chance to save, because I didn't want to tell him that the credits were going to roll, when you get the chance to save after fighting Marluxia, don't look at the pop-up and just save, and don't go back to the main menu. Mitchell, I have two things to tell you.
Okay, I will tell everybody. There were a couple times I was like, did I mess it up? Okay, no, I didn't mess it up. I'm like, did I mess it up? No, I didn't mess it up. And then the pop-up came up, looked away, everything was good. And I text Kyle, I said, we're good. I have no idea what's going on. I have no clue what he was trying to save me from at all.
Okay, Mitchell, I have two pieces of information to relay upon you.
Okay.
Okay, before I even do. One, how close is your PlayStation?
I mean, right next to me.
Get ready for this. Like,
okay.
Like turn it on, put it on mute. Yeah, let's.
Okay.
I should have prepped this.
That's all good, guys. I'm gonna do this live because I want this. If you missed, you should still be able to hear me. Let's see. PlayStation is warming up.
It's an old PS4. It's going to take a bit to boot up, so there's definitely some cut for length happening. So you can start the all-in-one or whatever, but don't turn on Chain of Memories yet.
Okay. I actually have, humble brag, this was the original PlayStation 4 that came with Destiny 1. Like the snowy white.
Ooh. I'm so jealous a little bit, but also not because it's a 4 and it's outdated now. But that was a good looking console.
It's awesome. I love this console. So I'm at the starting screen, and I've not clicked on Chain of Memories yet.
All right. So this is where I get to tell you that we are. I'll start with the bad news. We are only halfway through Chain of Memories.
Oh, you are so full of shit. No way.
We are only halfway through Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
Oh my God. How?
Here's the good news. Here's the part that I've been keeping secret from you. Here's the part that I am so thankful that nobody spoiled for you on the internet. There is an entire second campaign. Please click the Chain of Memories. Please click the Chain of Memories in your main menu.
Bro, hold on. Start playing Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. Okay. I think are you lying? You gotta be lying.
I am not lying to you. There is a second campaign to this game.
What? Hold on. Okay, we're going through the credits, or the opening stuff. Oh my God, it's showing Riku.
For the second half of this game, Mitchell, we are going to be playing...
Reverse Rebirth.
We're going to be playing as Riku.
Ah! I'm so excited! I was like, I don't know. What episode was it where we were talking about where it was like, do we play as Riku at some point?
I was like, no, come on. All right, I brushed it off so good. Is Riku in this game? Is Riku in this game? I was like, I don't know. We'll find out. And then it's like, oh, cool. Riku replica showed up at just the right time. Okay, cool. Riku's here. We're good. He's going to drop that assumption.
Okay. Bravo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to anybody. I just I thought I was far enough away and I clapped into the microphone. Holy shit. Oh my God. Kyle, what the dude? I don't know how you kept that secret for this long. That is...
I don't either. I really don't.
Just wow. Anybody... I don't know if anybody knows this. I used to have Riku in my passwords on the internet. I had characters in video games that I named after. I love his character and his character development in these stories. And I did not, this is so cool. Okay, I'm way more excited to play this chapter. No offense to Sora and all the other guys.
Yeah, there are so many things that we're going to get to learn about Riku and the story that's about to unfold for him that I just cannot wait to get into. It's honestly the better half of the game, in my opinion. I don't want to say any more, but like this has been like that key thing that I don't know how it isn't more obvious online that like, yeah, this game has two halves. Like, oh man, I'm so excited.
That's so cool. Oh, thank you for not, just letting me not know that.
It was difficult. I had to catch my tongue on many occasions.
I bet. I don't know if I could have kept that. I probably would have screwed that up.
So, but anyway, on that delightfully happy note, I think that's where we're going to have to bring it to a close today, so we can very soon dive into Kingdom Hearts Reverse Rebirth.
Oh, I'm starting it right now. This is the moment we're cutting this. We'll see. We'll talk to you guys later. I'm going to play Reverse Rebirth right now.
And on that note, so long, everybody. See you next week.
All right. Talk to everybody next week. And also, this is, I guess my brain, I was going to be like, this is the last episode of Chain of Memories. I lied. I was a liar. Kyle made me a liar. We will see you on the next episode for Chain of Memories.
I was already thinking about that when you said it. I was like, I'm going to have to edit that intro, aren't I? Oh, well, no, this will be fun.
I don't think you should. I think you should leave it as is. Oh, that's so awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening in. This one has been great. Kyle, as always, you're amazing. Love you. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Absolutely. See you all then. Love you, brother.
Hey there, Kingdom Hearts fans. Thanks for listening to the episode. Dream Drop Long Distance is hosted by Mitchell Orsino and Kyle Bradshaw, and is produced by Kyle Bradshaw. Our theme music was written and recorded by Alex McLean.